So when you're out here and you're looking for prickly pears, you want to make sure that you're taking the pears that are as red as possible. You don't want any of these ones that are green like this. They're not going to have the same sweetness and they're just going to be full of seeds. It is funny because every year there are these bugs on here. They won't hurt you, but they will fly at you occasionally. Cora, say hi. So we're out here getting prickly pears in the Tonto National Forest in Arizona. There's me and Cora. Here's Gannon helping.
Hi.
So when you're harvesting prickly pear, the ones that you're taking should come off pretty easily with your tongs. If you're finding that you're having to fight and pull to get it off, then you are going to want to try a different one. The ones that are super ripe are the ones that just fall off naturally on their own, so it really doesn't take anything at all. And they're just connected right there at the bottom to the pads, and then they'll just fall off and seed down here. All right, let's try to process some of these bad boys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna light a fire right here and take these guys and burn off all the little spines that are on there. What can you see? It's not wanting to focus. Well, there's a bunch of little spines on here that we are trying to burn off so that we can boil it down and create a jam. And I've done that before. The rest of them are over there thawing from being frozen so I can juice them. Let's try to start this fucking fire. Alright, so I thought I'd give you a little update on how this is going. It's my first time doing this with the prickly pears. I've got some up there, and then I've got the ones that I'm kind of putting in the fire. You can kind of see. I'm not really sure how it's working yet or not. So I'm taking them out of there, and then I'm brushing them off with water and a baby toothbrush. And I'm putting them in here so I'm gonna try to peel them. I guess we will see how it goes, but those are burning, so I'm gonna go for a second. So, like I said, first time ever roasting prickly pears like this. Last time I did this, I just froze them and squished them and juiced them. But this time I decided I wanted to make jam. Hands down, the best thing I think that worked for the roasting the really fine spines off of them was a log cut in half that happened to catch on fire. That log right there, that one, it was like a cross section of a log, and when on this very last one, this one, the one that looks the absolute best out of all of them, I actually set it on here right in the middle and roasted the spines off that way, and it actually worked really, really well. This one looks the best out of all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and dip my toothbrush and scrub off the excess, and then I will get to prepping. All right, so I have my roasted prickly pears sitting in there because I'm going to attempt to skin them and place my pulp and seeds into that bowl right there. Holy shit, I look rough. All right, please keep in mind I have done research on this as to how the natives would process their prickly pears. But a lot of this is really industrialized, and I haven't really been able to find a whole bunch on stuff from people who do it themselves. So all of this is me kind of creating my own process. So if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, I apologize. Take what works if you're watching this and use it for what you will. If you happen to be somebody who eats prickly pear on a regular basis and you have a better way of doing this that I obviously haven't found out yet, please feel free to drop it below. I would really appreciate it, because we have a lot of prickly pear around here, and I like to try to go out at least once a year to try to do this. Like I said, I've only done it once before though, and it worked out really great. The syrup was fucking phenomenal. But I got pregnant with my daughter, and then all the COVID bullshit happened, and it was just a lot to go out and forage. So I'm really happy that I did that again this year. So let's go ahead and jump into processing these bad boys and seeing what we get. Excuse the flies. So out of all those prickly pears, this is all the innards, all the seeds and the skins, and this is the meat. This is what we're going to use to make the jam. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to throw this away. I'm actually going to juice it with the frozen ones that are up at the top. This is what I'm going to boil down to make the jam. So I kind of tried to show you guys, but so each prickly pear, this is the skin. This is about as much meat as you actually get off of it, with these seed balls inside. Well, these seeds, there's a lot of them, and there's still lots of juices on here. So I am still going to juice this, because look at that. Look at all that goodness. Perfect for margaritas and lemonade, and that gross meat looking thing is going to turn into some prickly pear jam. And I just have to show you my makeup for my prickly pear adventure. You know, just gotta you know, get in the spirit. So it's all chopped up, and now I am squishing it down to get this really nice kind of mush. And then I'm going to mix sugar in with it, and I am going to put it in that pot right there and let it boil down. And then at that point, it will be jam that is ready to go. Alright guys, we are here for day 2 of the processing of the prickly pears, and I am going to show you what to do if you decide that you want to juice these wonderful little flavorful fruits. So of course we have our citronella candle right here to take care of all those pesky mosquitoes that are really fucking bad this year. And what I do when I come home with the prickly pears is I will put them in a pillowcase. A pillowcase that you never want to use again. You want to make sure that it's something that is ever going to go near your face again. And I'll take these little puppies and I'll put them in the freezer. And then after a day, I will pull them out and I'll let them thaw. Right in there, you can see that one's still kind of frozen. So I'll let them thaw. And then I take a heavy stick and pound it down. So what freezing does to the prickly pears is it causes all of the cells inside to expand because they're full of water. So when water freezes, it expands. So it causes the cells to burst. And what this is going to do for your juicing is it's actually going to make you have more juice available to you when you are breaking everything down. Obviously, if you're in a, obviously, if you are in a situation where you don't have access to a freezer, maybe because something is happening worldly or something is limiting your ability to use and utilize electricity, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you can, I very much recommend it because it will make your juice yield significantly higher. Once your prickly pears have been in the freezer and you pull them out, they've thawed, they're ready to go, that's going to be the point where you're going to juice them. Now, to juice them, you're going to want to have some kind of very heavy thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a stick. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything fancy. This is literally just an oak log that I took the bark off of, and I'm going to use it to crush everything down. Try to make sure that it's relatively clean, not so much so in the fact where it has to be sparkling, completely sanitized, because you're going to be straining everything, but you don't want anything falling into it that may be toxic. So as you can see, I put the leftovers in here from yesterday. This juice right here, I haven't even started to do this yet. That juice is just from the prickly pears thawing out. Let's get into it. After your first mushing, it's going to start to look like this. Everything's going to start to be broken down, and it's going to kind of look like you're trying to dye whatever pillowcase you have with the juice. After you get it to a satisfactory point, got a mosquito on my face, where you feel like it's been broken down enough, then you're going to take it, and I'm going to strain it into that bucket right there. So this bucket has honestly, it's a baby blanket, but it's muslin and it works perfectly. And then we've got a little colander on top of that, so it's going to strain through here and into this bucket. And then after we have our bucket full right here, then we are going to get to the point where we are going to strain it one more time, just to make sure that there aren't any additional pokey or any stickers or any unwanted residue in that bucket itself. And then after you strained it that second time, that is when we are actually going to put it into clean bottles. I decided that I'm going to modify my process a little bit from the last time I did this. Last time I did this, I just squished them in the big bucket with the pillowcase, and I just twisted the pillowcase and strained it out as much as I could, try to get as much of the juices as I could. However, this time, I started in here, doing what I did last time with the stick in the pillowcase, and it occurred to me that it would be easier if I mushed it in there and poured it into here and then strained it in here. Now, this is draining with all of this yummy goodness. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take, once this is done, I'm going to pull this metal grate and the muslin out, and I'm going to put it in there because it's the tamale pot, so it's got that little lip around the edge. I'm going to take this, with the cloth, and I'm going to put it in there. And I'm going to put the pillowcase on top of that. And then I'm going to squish it down. And then, theoretically, once I'm done squishing down and I feel like we've got a good amount of juice, I can pull this up and I can pull the juice from that pot into this bucket. We'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. Because I want to try to get as much as possible out of that pillowcase and the stuff inside, I went ahead and I made my very own redneck press, I think you would call it. That's what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to let that sit for a couple hours and come back out and see how much more we can get. So while the press is pressing, I went ahead and brought in the juice that we have so far inside so it didn't get too hot. And this is how much we have so far. So that comes right up to about half a gallon so far, I'm thinking. I'm gonna strain this one more time before I actually put it into jars or bottles. So I just wanted to let you know what it looks like. Let's see how much our thing got. Well, it fucking fell over. So that's probably not great. That's what it looks like. Motherfucking flies, get out of there. Ooh, juicy. Get that bullshit out of the way. So what I used to make my press was an upside down concrete mixing tube and some pillars for putting up houses like this one. So there's that round one that's fucking heavy as shit. And then this one, which is also really fucking heavy. All right. Okay. So, can you hear it? Kinda not. So, we pressed it down for a couple of hours, and now I'm gonna go ahead and take out my pillowcase, and I'm going to let it air dry so that I can just pour out all of these seeds, and I can go, they're native to the area, so I'm gonna go ahead and just take the seeds and I'm gonna go spread them everywhere, because if you didn't know, you can eat the prickly pears and you can also eat the juvenile pads of the prickly pears. I'm gonna butcher it. I know I am, because I can't say the word. It's Spanish. You can call it napales, or there's napolitos. I don't know, but you can eat those too. You can eat them raw, and you can eat them. You can cook them and can them and put them in soups and that kind of shit. You can do it. Treat them kind of like bamboo. They don't really have very much of a taste on their own. I was also going to try to do that for this video, but number one, I realized that you have to harvest the juvenile pads that are they're a lot smaller, they're a lot thinner, and they do not have as many prickles on them. I got like adolescent pads. They were still soft, but they had lots of pokies on them. It was really fucking hard to get it off, and I got prickles on my fingers, and it just did not work very well for me. So they are over there in a flower bed, hopefully going to put down some roots and make more prickly pears, and I just focused on what I had. So we're gonna take this out, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the concrete mixing tub because that's easy. So, whoa, here's our thing. God damn, those flies are bad. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you exactly how much juice is in this muslin baby blanket. Probably get some more prickles in my fingers. So I already had gotten most of it out, so I don't think we're gonna get a whole hell of a lot more. This is that pink and white blanket from the beginning of the video. Now, make sure that if you're using any cloth or anything, that you are wringing out every single piece of it that you can. That's not gonna fill your hands full of stickers. So this mostly has all the stickers out of it. I'm gonna show you how much juice is in here. It's just like water, like wringing out a washcloth. Look at it. Look at that. Look at all of that goodness. And this is why I'm going to strain it again, because there are a few seeds that are still in there. I don't know about you guys, but I get so excited about, you know, foraging or gardening. It's just something really, really cool about making something out of nothing. And then, you know, bringing it back to your roots and learning how your ancestors did things and how the native people of the land survived off of the land, and making sure that you can know how to do that in the case that you ever have to. You know, too many people think that milk comes from the grocery store and eggs come from the grocery store. I mean, you know, a cow goes moo, but you don't know what pieces of a cow are the best to eat. You don't know what to do to milk an udder. And just doing this stuff and teaching your family and your children really brings it all back. And I think that is something that is sorely lacking in today's environment. God, these flies are fucking awful. Okay, so we wrung it out. I'm gonna take out this bad boy. We got probably about a cup and a half more of juice in there. I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the other one, and we're gonna strain it. We're gonna strain it one more time. And then from there, we are going to take it and we are going to put it into bottles. You could probably can it. I don't know what it would really taste like if you did a water bath. I would suggest not doing a water bath. It's not very acidic. So if you are going to can the juice itself without processing it, do it in a pressure canner. That way it gets hot enough to kill any bacteria inside. But you know, you go through all this work, and I guarantee you that you have friends and family members that would really, really like this stuff. So I'm gonna bottle mine, but I'm not going to can any of it because this is gonna be gone fairly quickly. There's a couple different people that I want to give it to, as well as keep some inside for us. So let's go ahead and strain this one more time, and then I will take you into my kitchen and we will bottle it. This last straining portion, what I did is I took that same small bucket and I washed off the muslin cloth so that there is no residue in here, and I folded it over twice. You're going to want to make sure that you tie it on the sides or secured in some way, shape, or form. That way when you pour it in, it doesn't all just fall in. And I'm going to strain it one last time into this small bucket, and we will see how much we actually end up with. This is how much we got from the very last redneck press. That beautiful color. So you would think that because this has the color that it does, that it will stain anything and everything, and that is just simply not the case. is simply not the case. It doesn't, I mean, like, it'll stain a little bit. Obviously, I've got some of it on my hands right here, but after I wash my hands with soap, this comes off and it's just a slight pinkish tinge. I mean, look at the difference in color right here with this right now versus when we just had it over here and it was the same dark red as this. I rinsed this out and I didn't wring it out. I didn't scrub it. I just rinsed it with water and kind of just slightly shook it off, and it is back almost to its original color, just slightly more pink. So you're not going to have the same dyeing factor that you do with some vegetables and other types of plants that you come in contact with. All right, that's almost completely gone through, so we're going to go ahead and start with our big green bucket. Make sure you're giving it time to work its way through the fibers. This started to slip because I don't have it tied on this side. I didn't have a clamp. I only have it tied on this side. So I'm giving it time to really soak through, soak down. I don't want to overwhelm the fibers. Ooh. Sorry for the shaking. It's on my table. My table's not super sturdy. It's made of very soft pine. So we're here. We have our juice in our bucket right here, and I am going to put it into this very nifty, very fancy, elegant, very vintage container. And then we're going to take it from there and we're going to put it into these bottles with my fancy little funnel. It's got a sieve on the inside so we can strain it one more time just to make sure, because nobody wants to drink a cactus prickle and have it go in your throat, because that would suck. And it is secured onto there with just some, good old-fashioned ingenuity. We've got this. This is a 1 gallon container. I can't. This is a lot. And it is super exciting. It's just above 2 quarts right here. So looks like we've got maybe a little over a half a gallon. A half gallon marker is right there. And that is just absolutely fantastic. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take it and I'm going to separate it out into these 4 containers. I'm gonna fill these 2 about halfway full. They're gonna go to 2 of my really, really good friends, probably my best friends. And they can use it for their family and they can drink some whatever. This one is gonna go to a fellow that I work with. He's a really, really nice man, and he and his family also do prickly pear. Last year they tried to make some prickly pear candy and it was good. It was just really, really freaking sweet. So I don't know if they actually got out to do it this year, so I want to just pass on a little bit of some good stuff to them. And then I'm going to fill this one up for our personal use. Now, don't feel bad if you know me personally and I'm not giving you any prickly pear juice. It is a very time-consuming process, as you can see, and it is something that I would be more than happy to share with you if you come here and you hang out and we can have a couple of drinks. We can have, prickly pear margaritas, or we can make some lemonade and do it that way. But something that I spent a lot of time on, and I'd like to, you know, share it with you in person, you know? So let's get pouring. I don't want to do too much because I want to make sure that there's enough for everybody as well as for me and my family. So one thing that I'll go ahead and talk to you about while we're sitting in here that I didn't mention while we were outside, ooh, that's a little much, is prickly pear is exactly like you would think when you juice it. It's really gooey, like cactus is gooey, or if you've ever had aloe vera, that is also, it's very gooey. It has that in it. So at the very end of the time lapse of the final straining, you'll see that I picked it up and I squeezed it out. It was still going through the cloth, but it had gummed it up, so it was just going very, very slowly. I just kind of sped up the process. So if you don't like the taste of or the feel of a thicker liquid, you might want to think about watering this down or cutting it with something else. But the taste overall is very earthy. I find it is it's a very natural taste. They do have sugar in them. It is not super, super sweet at all. It's more of a natural sweetness. And when you taste it, I'm gonna get kind of, I'm gonna probably get kind of weird, but, oh, this is sealed really tight for when I use this last. There we go. When I drink prickly pear juice, it reminds me of the desert after rain. So if you've ever been in the desert in Arizona and the smell of a wet creosote and just the wet, dusty dirt, it reminds me of that. And then this is up here from the pine, so I don't know if it would have a little bit of a different taste from something that's a little farther down the mountain. But it reminds me of where I got it. And I don't know if that's because of the fact that I foraged it in a particular place. So I think it tastes like a particular place. Oh my gosh. Oh man. I can add a little bit more to these two brown ones. Oh man. So if you're like me and you like to repurpose things, much to my husband's dismay, I save bottles and I save jars and I save all kinds of shit because you never know when you could use it. So this is a bottle I got from a girlfriend of mine. She was cleaning out her house and she just happened to have some of these. So I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll take them. They have these nice little seal things on them, and it closes and it keeps it nice and tight. This is a syrup bottle that just looks really cool. It's super handy. You know, you can use it for anything. You could make infused olive oil in this. You could make a tincture in this, or strain a tincture into this after you make it in a jar. Or you could make, like, if you were into infused alcohols, you could infuse alcohol in this. It is just, so versatile. These are old beer bottles that have the same kind of locking mechanism as this one, and the rubber seal is still moist and it's good to go, so it'll keep that seal. And that's just fantastic. I like to reuse things. And I don't always have a lot of space to keep stuff. Like my camera is currently sitting on 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes of canning jars, because, you know, why not? Oh man, I am super excited. That is absolutely fantastic. Couple things to note if you are interested in doing this and going out and foraging any kind of cactus or specifically prickly pear. Number one, always use gloves and tongs when you are actually out getting them. Number two, always have tweezers on hand when you are processing them. So when after I had roasted the prickles off of the prickly pears that I used to make the jam, and I only got, I'll show you. So out of all of those fruits and that we roasted and processed, this is it. This is all there is. So if you are interested in doing jam and you're wanting to do it for like a lot of people, it's probably not the best idea because it really is something that's very, very time consuming. I think the roasting process was more time consuming than the juicing process. And you don't get a whole hell of a lot. So, I mean, if you're gonna turn the juice into jelly, that might be a better idea. Jam, it's more for personal experience and satisfaction as opposed to gifts. If I was to give this to somebody, I would have to think of them as very, very special because a lot of time and effort went into gathering and roasting and all that kind of stuff. So, but when I was doing that, I had tweezers right on hand because I was peeling off the skin, and every time that I'd get a prickle in me, I could just take it and get it out really quick. That way it doesn't stay in the skin and fester. Make sure you have at least 2 days to process the juice itself in order to make all this delicious goodness, because it's a process. It's not something that you can do if you don't have patience, if you don't have time. It is hard to do with children. My son, he's not here right now, but he was running around earlier and he was really excited for the juice and he really wanted to help, but at this point there's not very much he could help with and not get in the way, you know? So make sure you have a little bit of time to yourself or somebody who's willing to watch your kids. Like yesterday when I was doing the stuff for this guy, my husband had the kids inside. For the most part, they came out and visited, but for the most part, they were inside. All right. Like I said, this can be used for anything. You can make it into a syrup to put over pancakes. You could take it and you can put it into lemonades. You can put it into like vodka. You could put it into a margarita. The possibilities are endless, but you really want to make sure that it is something that will go well with a more fresh kind of taste. I hope I didn't ramble on too much in this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And, you know, hopefully I'll be doing more of these videos about canning and gardening and processing, and then eventually we will actually get something that is actually true to the Corn Outdoors channel name, and we'll actually do something with camping, which is what this whole channel was originally supposed to be about. So, let's see. All right. Thank you. I'll see you next time. And if you decide that you want to try your hand at prickly pears, tag me in the video. Let me know how you did. Let me know if any of the things that I suggested in any of my videos helped you with your process at all. Remember, you're always growing, you're always learning. There is zero problem with doing something one way one year and then completely changing it the next, because maybe that one little thing will make it just a little bit easier the next time.